Hello, hello. Hi guys, happy Monday. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm gonna make sure that I'm live in the right group. I'm gonna give it about 2 seconds. This is module 1 of Waking Up to Overflow. So excited you guys are here, and we're gonna dive in as soon as I make sure I'm in the right group and I see maybe like 1 or 2 people hop on. This light behind me is really bright. Let me see if I can move my camera. So welcome. As you're hopping on, let me know if you're watching live by putting live in the comments. If you're watching the replay, put replay. I'm gonna give it like 2 seconds, and sorry for the technical difficulties. So I have to preface this by saying, and the people who are gonna hop on late are gonna be like, what the heck is going on? I'm in my home gym in my basement because I have a 3-year-old upstairs, a 5-month-old, and a 5-year-old, and they're really, really loud. And if any of you have kids, they have some days where they're like emotionally, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like crazy. And so they're just like very on edge today, and everything's ending up in a meltdown. And I was like, if I try to do this upstairs in my office, I know they're going to come crashing in. So I was like, I'm just going to leave. I mean, they have a nanny with them, so it's not like they're alone, but I was like, I'm just going to come to my home gym where I know that people cannot attack me. And also, like, guys, I just keep shit real. Like, this is my life. You're probably going to hear them driving race cars on the floor upstairs. It is what it is. If you're a mom in the comments, let me know you get it, because I know that you probably get it. All right, it looks like I'm live. You guys are jumping on. Awesome. Welcome. Okay, so excited. Let's dive in. I have so many freaking good things to cover in this course. So a little bit of housekeeping very, very briefly. This course is completely free. It's normally $9.97. It's free for this week until Friday, at which point it will be deleted from this group forever. If you want to purchase lifetime access after this Friday, you're more than welcome to. I will share the link and you can purchase lifetime access for $9.97. But up until Friday, it's free in this group. So make sure you come in here and watch it. And I also have to say a little piece around self-sabotage. Don't self-sabotage, because I know how many times I sign up for things and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get to that. and then I never get to it, or I kind of like screw myself over. There's no reason you should have to pay for access to this course unless you want lifetime access, which would, make sense. But watch it while it's in here free so that you don't have to do that unless you really, really want to. Everything for this course will take place in this Facebook group. So this is module 1. This is kind of an interactive course because I am going to ask you to do some journaling, some self-reflection. Self-reflection. I'm going to give you some journal prompts to do tonight that are going to be really, really helpful, because it's one thing to hear information. It's another thing to actually process, integrate. And there's a difference between understanding and knowing. And the way that we shift from understanding to knowing is actually do the work, answer the questions, go within, do the journal prompts so that you really can become aware of what you've so far been not aware of, what's been subconscious for you. So I have some notes here on my computer. Again, welcome if you're hopping on, if you're watching live or the replay. Again, if you didn't hear my spiel about why I'm in my home gym, you can rewatch that on the replay. But this is where we're doing it today, downstairs in the basement. All right. Housekeep. I want to make sure I have some notes. So if you see me looking over here, I was like, I'm going to make slides. That way I can make sure like I'm really on track. But I actually do best when I just get in a flow state and I let it come through. So whatever's meant to come through will come through. And I would actually love to know in the comments, first and foremost, set your intention. Okay. I believe that when you set your intention for whether it's a paid program or it's a program that is paid, but you're getting free access this week, setting your intention is everything. Today is the Lionsgate portal. I didn't mean for that, but what a beautiful like accident. So set your intention. What is completing this course going to mean for you moving forward? What is now true for you? What is your intention from this? Is that you are now claiming that with the completion of this course, you're stepping into your first 5-figure month or your first multi-5-figure month, or maybe even better than all of that is that with the completion of this course, you're now going to let go of every ounce of shame you have around money. Module 1 that I'm going into in a second is actually probably not going to be what you expect it to be, because a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is about releasing the shame that you have, because I'm sitting Indian style because it's comfortable. Because the shame that you have is a huge part of what's probably keeping you stuck in your relationship with money or keeping you spinning your wheels, because you're beating yourself up about where you are and you're thinking things need to be different so you can finally get there. And so a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is going to be just changing your perception around where you currently are and releasing that. So set your intention now, because intention creates its own fulfillment. Today is the Lionsgate portal. Decide what now is going to be true for you in completing this course. Again, it can be a specific intention, like I am now claiming my first 10K month, or it could be I'm letting go of shame, or it could be I'm now claiming to have fun in my business through a state of overflow. Okay, so I want you to share, or you don't have to share, but just write it down. Okay, so I have a ton of notes, and I'm just gonna get started on letting what needs to come through me. And it's my intention that you'll get exactly what you need to get from this. I actually never intended to do a free course like this or offer this for free, but Spirit just kept telling me, like, literally wouldn't stop. And I was like, fine, like, I'll just do it. And then I had so many people sign up without me really having to like market it a ton. And when I did market it, it was just easy and effortless. And so let that be a sign to you if there's something that's been gnawing at you, something that just will not leave you alone. That's almost always your intuition saying, go there, go there, go there. And we always think we know better. And we're always like, no, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. But trust me, it's almost always the way. So the first thing I want to share with you, and that I really want to focus on for this course, is number one, knowing, and this may trigger some of you, which, by the way, if anything I say in this course triggers you, I'm going to celebrate the shit out of that. Being triggered is a gift. And I know it doesn't feel like it, but whenever I'm triggered now, I look at it as like an opportunity for the light of my consciousness to shine on a part of me that was in the dark. So whenever I'm triggered, when I'm listening to another, person teach something and I'm like, ooh, like that really pisses me off, or like, fuck you, who do you think you are? No, that's not true. Like any sort of trigger, I now learn to celebrate it. Thank you to my mentor for teaching me that, because I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Anytime I'm triggered, I just went unconscious to a part of me that I wasn't aware of. So if what I say in this triggers you a little bit, that's a gift. And I'm going to celebrate that with you. And feel free to share in the comments, like, dude, that really triggered me, because I'm going to celebrate it, because it's really honestly a perfect opportunity for you to become aware of what stories are you telling yourself. So the first thing that I wanted to say about being in overflow, and this is the part that may trigger some of you. Oh, look, it's 11:11. It's my sign for alignment. First thing I want to share with you is you're already in overflow. You're already in overflow. And your belief or your perception that you're not is a huge piece of the equation here, because you already are. I called this course Waking Up to Overflow for a reason, because the belief that you're not already in it is the only thing that's actually preventing you from being in it. You actually already are experiencing it every single day. You're just not conscious of it. So you're already in overflow. And the reason I know this as a fact, there aren't many facts in life, but that's a fact. The reason I know that as a fact is because there is no lack. Abundance is the only reality. Everything that is in abundance is an illusion. And I also think that it depends on what is your definition of overflow. My definition of overflow used to be, right? Oh, overflow. Like when I first became a coach and I joined this industry, people would talk about overflow all the time. I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, I don't understand what you people are talking about, overflow. And then I started to hear little pieces of what it was. And I was like, oh, why is everybody making this a big deal? Like, we're already all in it. I don't understand why this is a big deal. I don't get it, right? And so maybe it's because my definition of overflow, and the definition I recommend you take on if it feels good to you, is overflow is anytime I'm in abundance, anytime there's more than enough, anytime there's extra, anytime that, even if it's $1, right? And so for a long time, I was like, oh, to be in true overflow, I have to have an extra $1 million every month. And of course, if we decide that the definition of overflow is something so big, like an extra $1 million a month, or maybe for you it's an extra $1,000 a month. And maybe for you that feels really big right now. But if you make your definition of overflow something that big, you create specialness. And when you create specialness, you create separateness. Anytime you put something as special, you automatically make it different. You make it something outside of you. So if you decide that your definition of overflow is I have an extra, I have extra money coming in all the time and I never, ever, ever have debt. I'm going to talk about debt. If your definition of overflow is something that feels so unachievable, something special, something on a pedestal, something that only other people get, then you'll never get there. Because I always say this, and I say this all the time, but we don't get in life what we want, we get what we are. Right? We get who we see ourselves as. So I think one of the things that I did that really helped me was I was like, well, this isn't a big deal. Like overflow just is. Money just is. It's like oxygen. Okay, money just is. Overflow just is. It's always there. It's just, am I awake to it? Am I aware that I'm already in it? Because as long as I think I'm not, it's something outside of me I have to go get. And anytime something is outside of us and we think we have to go get it, we've already set ourselves up for struggle and hustle and overworking and chasing and a bunch of bullshit that we don't need to do. So right now, the first thing I want you to do is number one, I'm going to talk about how you're already in overflow a little bit more, but decide what your definition of overflow is going to be for you. For me, overflow is a feeling more than anything. Overflow feels like it's who I am. It's a natural part of my life. It feels like nature. Like when I go out in nature and I just like stand in the grass and I look at the trees, I'm instantly put in a state of overflow. Overflow isn't something you do and you achieve and you go get. It's a way of being. It's just a way of being. Another word that could really be used as a synonym for overflow, by the way, is gratitude. It's a realization that it's all already here. So I love to go in nature because that puts me in that energy of gratitude. It puts me in that state of overflow because it's a feeling, it's an energy more than anything. So I look at the trees and I look at the grass and I look at the air and I look at the birds and I sit there and I'm like, how could there be anything but abundance? Like there is nothing else. I don't understand how there could ever be anything but all of this. There's so much. The universe and nature does not tolerate a vacuum. Have you ever noticed in nature, if there's like a single crack of space, nature will fill it? That's because abundance is all there is. The spaces will all be filled. Overflow is all that exists. There is no other reality other than it's all already here all the time. Lack is the illusion. So I want you, that's your first journal prompt, and your first thing that I want you to either put in the comments or write it down is, what is your definition of overflow? My definition of overflow is what I just shared. It's a feeling. It's a knowing that that's my birthright. It's your birthright. It's not something we have to achieve and go get. It's not something for other people. It's not something you're born, well, I guess you are born into, but it's not a class of society that you're born into. It's a way of being. It just is. Everybody has it. Not everybody's aware they already have it. So define what overflow is for you. If that definition doesn't feel good, feel free to leave it. But for me, I love it because it doesn't make it so special. Because again, if we make it this special thing that like, oh, overflow, I have to go get it. I need to become somebody who's worthy of overflow. Fuck that. Like, that's exhausting. I don't think that you have to go become somebody who's worthy of overflow because it just is. It's just a way of being. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to share with you. You're already in overflow in other areas of your life. So this is another thing I started to practice, was like feeling out the areas of life where I already was in. I was already aware of overflow, I should say, because we're always in it. But I looked at other areas in my life where I was already aware of being in overflow. And I started to pay attention to how I felt about those areas. So for example, in the comments, I would love to know, where do you already feel you're in overflow? For example, like maybe with money, you're like, I don't feel that right now. I'm not aware of it. But when it comes to friendships, I have tons of friends. Or when it comes to my marriage, there's so much love and affection. And I just feel like I'm always in overflow in my relationship with my significant other. Or maybe it's health. You have an overflow of health. You always feel vital. You always feel alive. Maybe it's with your social media. You have an overflow of engagement. You have an overflow of love. Maybe it's there's some area of your life, I guarantee it, where you're already in a state of overflow. And I want to know in the comments what that is for you if you're on live. Yes, yes. Overflow to me is the gratitude of life. I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Oh yeah, you have an overflow of laundry. Dude, I have such a good analogy. Such a magical analogy. Like, such a good analogy, because I don't know a single person who's probably listening to this who's like, I don't have an overflow of laundry. Okay, perfect. I'm literally looking at an overflow of laundry. That is, anytime, I love this analogy, anytime you get into scarcity, you could just think of the analogy Lindsay just shared of like, the overflow of laundry is equal to how it gets to be for everything. It's equal to that, okay? But I started to look at areas in my life where I was already experiencing overflow, and I started to notice, like, what is different about those areas versus money? Well, for one, I had a really, I actually wrote this down. I wrote down my exact, actually, I don't know where I wrote it. But I started to write down, I don't know where I wrote it down, but I had a really good description. But basically, when it comes to areas in my life where I already had overflow, I had like a gentle, soft energy around them. It wasn't like a forcing or a pressure or it's just like this gentle, soft energy and a trust and a knowing that I didn't have to strive. I didn't have to go make them happen. I didn't have to work. They just would be. So for example, my husband, I feel like that's an area where I have overflow is my marriage. When I met my husband, I didn't have to like struggle and go and work really hard to get him. I actually just decided, I broke up with the guy I was dating, and I decided, you know what? I'm no longer available for anything other than my soulmate. And I started dating my husband like literally the next day. So I just decided, but I feel into that energy there because there's no grasping. There's no desperation. There's no, I need to go get it. It just is. So notice other areas of your life where you're already in that state and apply that energy to money. Now, the next thing I want to go into, and this is a really big piece, is shame. This is huge. This creates so much fucked up shit for people in their relationship with money. And until you release the shame, I honestly think it's hard to move forward because you take 2 steps forward and then you pick up a metaphorical stick and you beat the shit out of yourself with it, right? We have so much shame around it. And what I really want to create in this course is a neutral energy around money, a neutral energy around money. To where you can look at your money every day and just, it doesn't feel, I mean, eventually you could get to a point where you feel excited and you feel energized, but I don't even care if you get there right now. Let's just get to neutrality. And the way that we get to neutrality around money is to stop shaming ourselves around money, which means, and I want you to, if you get nothing else from this course, I want you to hear what I'm about to say. Having overflow or being a person who has an overflow around money is no better than being in debt. Receiving money is no better than spending money. Okay? They're no better. Again, it goes back to that piece of like, don't put it on a pedestal, don't make it something for other people, and don't make it right or wrong. If you don't want, if overflow, listen, the other piece that I have a lot of notes on here is like, there's seasons in life, and you have to know what season you're in and then not beat the fuck out of yourself for being in that season. So when I started this business, I wasn't making any money. And I invested a lot of our family income to hiring a coach for a year who could help me start my business. And I chose, when I made that decision and I invested in that coach, I chose that I will not beat myself up about this. I'm not available for shaming myself. Because I knew if I beat myself up about, oh my God, you spent that money, it was just going to compound and create this energy around money that's the opposite of neutrality. And it creates this energy around money that creates distortions and creates struggle and sets me up for always feeling bad about money. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to feel bad about it. We have seasons. You have to know what season you're in, or at least become aware of what season you're in, so that you can not feel shame about it and you can allow it to be what it is. There have been seasons in my life and in my business where I've been in a season of investing heavily. And in the past, I've been in a season of investing heavily and felt a lot of shame about it. And then I carried that shame with me, and it weighed me down. And it made my relationship with money very stressful. And it made me feel bad about myself. I had to release all of that. I am not available for feeling bad about any of my financial decisions, especially in my business. And I actually made a post about this on my Instagram this morning, but one of the things that I love to affirm for myself now is I always make the best decisions. I always make the best decisions. It's all adding up for me. Even when it looks like I didn't make the best decision, quote unquote, it is the best decision because I can't fuck it up, because I trust myself and I'm always making the best decisions. So when you're in a season of heavily investing, just know that it's okay. It's not worse than the season of overflow. And you get to choose to stay in one season for forever if you want. I'm not saying you have to go through seasons. I'm just saying it's typically normal. Like, people go through cycles, and it's okay. It's okay. We don't need to make ourselves wrong for it. There's also been seasons where I've been in a lot of debt. A lot of you guys might not know my story, but I started my first business in 2016. When I started that, my husband and I were over 6 figures in debt. I was like $110,000 in debt. That didn't include a house and cars. It didn't include anything. We didn't own shit, okay? We didn't own anything. We lived in a basement apartment. It was just student loans, over $100,000 in student loans. And when I started my business, that was the life I was in right there. But the beautiful thing I did then, and I'm so grateful for, is I didn't shame myself for it. I didn't make it wrong. I didn't beat myself up. I just knew I was in a season of debt, and that season is no different and no worse than any other season I'll be in my life. It just is. It just is what it is. Right? And I think, because I don't know what kind of business you have, if you're listening to this, whether you're a coach, creative consultant, it really doesn't matter what kind of business you have. I think that we don't look at our businesses and the way we invest in our businesses in the same way that we do college, right? So when I was paying for college and I went into a shit ton of debt for a degree, it was like, oh, well, that's normal. Everybody does that. So I didn't shame myself. But when I invested in my business and I hired a coach and I spent a bunch of money and I didn't make it back immediately, because most businesses don't, I started shaming myself, because that isn't society. Society doesn't tell you that's normal. People don't tell you that that's okay. So then I was like, well, this must be wrong. I'm doing something wrong. I'm bad. And I shamed myself and piled it on, which makes no sense, because I spent a fuck ton more going to college for a degree I no longer use, and I felt no shame. Simply because of my perception and what I was taught was okay and wasn't okay. So what are you beating yourself up for around money, when it really, you don't need to be doing that? Because it's all fine. It's all good. It's all okay. There is no version of reality where having overflow makes you better or is better than anything else. And know what season you're in, and accept what season you're in, and be okay with what season you're in, because it's like the curious paradox. When I accept myself as I am, then I can change. And that curious paradox, I say it to myself probably every single day, multiple times a day, because it applies to everything. It doesn't just apply to money. You want to get an overflow? Accept where you are and stop being a dick to yourself, okay? Like, you got to. You can't get to overflow or to abundance or to anything when you're fighting yourself and you're making where you are not okay. When you accept yourself as you are, then you can change. This applies to money. When you accept your money situation the way it is, then it can change. Because you're not fighting against yourself. You're not making yourself wrong. You're not beating yourself up. You're at peace. You know it's a season. You know that you're worthy. You know that it's fine. You know that it's all working out. You know that you make the best decisions. It's all adding up. Everything's working out for you. Like, you're so worthy of it and you're already in abundance. You're already in overflow. It might not feel like it, and your external reality may not demonstrate that at that current moment, but that doesn't make it any less true. Okay, so that's the first piece that I really want this first module to be about, is defining what overflow is for you, and then where are you needing to release shame or beating yourself up or judging yourself. And understanding that overflow is not better than debt. Receiving is not better than giving and spending. Money is meant to circulate. It is meant to circulate just like the air you breathe. That would be like me being like, breathing in is so much better than exhaling and like, and then like not wanting to exhale. Like, it all has to circulate. And that's the neutrality around money. That's the energy of neutrality that I'm talking about, is understanding that giving isn't better than receiving and vice versa. It's understanding that one season isn't worse than another. Debt isn't bad, and you don't need to be an asshole to yourself about it. And, I'm going to do a little touch on debt a little bit. You can be in debt and be in overflow at the same time. You actually can experience that. So there's that, right? Like, when I was over 6 figures in debt, I still experienced overflow. I experienced it in other areas of my life, certainly, but even with money, I experienced overflow. Because as I was paying off that debt, I still had a little extra money that I would keep in my checking and I would keep in my savings, because I wanted to experience having more than enough. And that was a choice that I made. And yes, I know I'm paying interest on the debt and it's there, but I still get to experience the energy of overflow and not make it wrong, right? So I know debt can be like a heady topic, and that's not really what this course is about too much, but hold on, let me read the comments here. Yeah, and when we shame ourselves, it really is about, we don't destroy what we love. So if you're destroying yourself, if you're shaming yourself, you're beating yourself up, again, we don't destroy what we love. So I had to look at myself when I was doing that and be like, this is a lack of self-love. Would I ever do this to somebody I care about? Would I ever do this to my child or my mom or my husband or anybody in my life? No. So why would I do it to myself? I'm just not going to. I notice it. It still comes up. I'm not like superhuman. I still feel all the things and think all the things everybody else does. I just don't buy into them. I just notice them. I'm the awareness noticing them, but I'm not buying into it and falling into the story. I'm just like noticing it and processing it and moving on. Read the comments here. Stripping made me annoyed. Yes. Dude, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, college is worthless. Yeah, I mean, I'll keep my opinions about college to myself. Okay, cool. Yes, Marion said she has a great relationship with money, but she can apply this to other areas where you don't have the same. Yes, one of my favorite things to apply everything I'm teaching to you is actually health and fitness. Health and fitness parallels money and business so well. And they kind of just, I really am into working out. If you watch my Instagram stories, you'll see almost every day I have an Instagram story of me working out. I love health and fitness because I love the internal experience of growing through it. I love the analogies and the lessons it brings me. And I love knowing that when I learn something in my fitness journey, I can almost always apply that to my business and vice versa. It's really cool. So that's a side tangent, but let me look at my notes really quick. Yes. Okay. So Callie said, I have huge shame over investing in an older biz and not making it back. We've all been there. So now if you have to let that go, and the best way to let that go, I mean, there's tons of modalities. If you're like, I really have shame around something, I really want to release it in whatever way feels best to you. One of the things that I did is I just wrote myself a letter. I wrote myself a letter. I forgave myself for everything, right? Because that's self-love. Forgiveness is the epitome of self-love. Forgave myself. I ripped it up. I threw it away. You could burn it. You could mail it to yourself. Do whatever you want to do. I ripped it up and threw it away because symbolically for the subconscious mind, that's kind of a way of letting the subconscious mind know that we're allowing this to go. If it's a really deep wound, work with a hypnotherapist. I've worked with a hypnotherapist on multiple things in my life because it was something deep. I wanted assistance. Tapping can be a great way if it's something like, there's so many modalities, but also never forget, and this is another note I had, at some point you have to just choose. You just have to decide that you're not available for it anymore, because we always get what we're available for. This is actually a great point to bring up. I was talking, I forget who it was. Somebody commented on the virtual conference I hosted last week about money. And it was a beautiful comment about all the things she had done to work on her money relationship. And it was like all these different healing modalities. I don't even remember. There was probably 20 different healing modalities on there of things she had done to heal her relationship with money. Hypnosis, healing, ancestral, I can't talk. Ancestral trauma, DNA work, like all sorts of things. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, that is amazing. But have you actually decided that this is how money gets to be for you now? Because until you make that decision, this is the part that manifestation, like people who teach manifestation often forget, is you're a powerful motherfucker. Like, you are powerful. And you are so powerful that once you decide, that is the way it gets to be. And you'll always get what you're available for. So if you're available for a money struggle and you're available for debt, and not that debt's wrong, right? But if you don't want that experience anymore, if you've chosen, I don't want the experience of debt anymore, then you also have to, at some point, do all the work, do all the energy clearing you want, do all the trauma healing, do whatever you want. But at some point, you must also decide. You must make that decision. And a lot of people miss that point. And I also think there's power. And if you want to go back and do all the healing work, go for it. But sometimes that isn't necessary. Sometimes you can bulldoze, you can skip all that. And this isn't spiritual bypassing, because it's being in your power. It's not being a victim to your emotions and your feelings. And you have to be the person who gets really good at knowing when you do need to do the inner work and really heal something and really release something, or when it's like, no, I really don't need to do that, and I actually just need to decide. And I can actually skip all that because I'm not broken. I don't need fixing. That's another thing. As long as we think we're broken and we need fixing, we are in the energy of I have to fix, I have to fix, I have to fix. Instead of being in the energy of like, I'm already there. I don't need fixing. I'm already whole. I'm already healed. It's already done. They're two different energies. And you just have to get good at knowing like, okay, do I really, like, this is really deep and this is really painful and I'm having trouble releasing it on my own. I am going to go do the inner work. Sometimes that is the case. But a lot of the times it's not. A lot of the times it's, and I am really powerful and I can just decide that this is how it gets to be for me. And I'm not going to make myself go do all this stuff so then I can finally have money. I'm just going to decide. So just be careful. Just be careful, because I think the inner work is great. Again, that's what I teach on, but we can get into this mode of fix-it energy. And the fix-it energy creates that separateness as well, because then it's like, well, I have to fix a bunch of stuff so then I can go get it. It's just like another fucking thing we have to do to get what we want. And it's not always the case. Sometimes you just get to decide and you get to be that person now. You get to feel worthy of it now. Right? Okay, let me take a sip of my coffee because my throat's really dry. Yes. Eva said, yes, my fitness journey has given me the confidence to start my own business. If I started over and pulled myself out of death, I can do anything. Yes. Yes. And fitness, oh God, I love how it parallels, because when you're on a health and fitness journey, you really do. I'm going to make a program eventually someday for fitness, like, because it's just more about the inner work around it. But it really is about falling in love with the process, like falling in love with the journey. Because if you start making fitness about, oh, I have to get there, you struggle and you suffer and you make it a miserable part of your existence, because you think when you finally lose 20 pounds, you're going to feel better. And that parallels money perfectly, because that's how we approach money, right? We're like, when I budget, when I get on a strictness, when I beat myself up about my debt so that I don't ever do it again, right? If I beat myself up enough about this, I'll never do it again. PS doesn't work. When I work hard enough, when I struggle enough, I'll finally get there. I'll have the money, I'll have the overflow, and then I'll finally feel better. And it doesn't work that way because, again, you're putting something outside of you and you're working your way to it. And as I've said on many trainings, we don't get what we want, we get what we are. The way to get from point A to point B is to be the person at point B, which means you're worthy now, which means same thing with fitness. I may look externally like, okay, let's see, I'm 5 months postpartum. When I first had my son, I was, I don't know, I don't use a scale, but I was probably like 20, 25 pounds overweight. Sorry, they're being crazy up there. I don't know if you can hear them. They're playing monsters. I was overweight, but honestly, I was so focused on the journey and so having so much fun. I just didn't really care. Like, I just enjoyed the process. I just showed up and did the things, right? Chuck wood, carry water. And then I just trusted that it would come. I didn't need to be at my goal to feel happy on the way to my goal. Same thing with money. I don't need the money. I don't need to be at that income goal or whatever to have fun on my way to it. And it takes practice because we're so taught to work from the outside in. We're so taught that we have to have things in our external environment so that we can feel a certain way. But that's not how our reality is created. Our reality is created from the inside out. I will feel a certain way and then it'll show up in my external reality. So if you're really into fitness, any of this can apply to fitness and you can use it as an example. Sorry, I just went on a total side tangent there and lost my train of thought. But yes, most of the very, very, very wealthy people I know have a lot of debt. So again, training for a different day, but yes, exactly. Awesome. Okay. A few more minutes and I want to make sure I had like a ton of notes. So I make sure I covered some of them. Can you guys hear those kids upstairs? This is why I came in the basement. And my gym needs clean, so just pretend it's clean. All right, let me focus. Okay, this is the last thing I wanted to... Okay, I pretty much covered everything. Wow, I'm doing really good considering I haven't looked at my notes. So this is the last piece I wanted to touch on because this is a huge one for a lot of people that I work with is they desire the overflow experience and state of being, but when they have actual overflow of money in their bank, they get rid of it. So my question for you is, can you be with money? Can you be with money? It is shocking to me, in a non-judgmental way because I've been there, but it is shocking to me the amount of people who can't be with money. They can't let money sit, whether it's in a checking account, a retirement account, a savings account. They can't be with money. And until you figure out, I don't even want to say the word figure out because that could lead you down a rabbit hole of like, what's wrong with me, right? We don't want to go there. But until you become aware of what's going on there, it's going to be hard to shift it. What are you, these are the questions I want. If you are somebody who's like, I really don't feel safe being with money, or I always desire overflow, I always desire an extra money, like lots of extra money at my disposal, but I've never had the experience. Anytime there's a repeating pattern in your life or business, it points to some sort of subconscious benefit you're getting. Okay? So if you're like, I want overflow, I want extra money, but you never have it, then that... Somebody's crying again. Sorry, guys. Like I said, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-month-old, and maybe it's the Lionsgate portal, but these kids came today. Well, my son and then my nanny brings her son, and he and my son were they're emotionally like all over the place today. Like I don't know what's going on with the stars. But anyway, I keep getting distracted because they're distracting the crap out of me. So I don't even know what I was just saying. Shit, what was I saying, you guys? Somebody tell me in the comments what I was saying. Let me look at my notes. Oh, so that's what I was saying about being with money. The question is, if you're having that pattern of never having money, then what you need to look at is, what am I getting from this? Or what am I afraid will happen if I do hold on to money? Why don't I feel safe holding on to money? Sometimes people get rid of all their money because they have a fear deep down that if they have a lot of extra money, their family will disown them. If they have a lot of money, then their husband won't caretake them, and they really like when their husband takes care of them because that's how they feel loved. If they have a lot of extra money, they're snobby and they're stuck up. If they have a lot of extra money, somebody could physically harm them and take it. Who knows? Like, there's so many things under the surface, but what are you afraid is going to happen if you're holding on to money? Until you look at that and become aware of that, it will continue to dictate everything. And then you will be like, why am I doing all the things, but I never have overflow? That's why. There's some sort of benefit you're getting, or you think it's going to cost you something. So I've worked with a lot of people who are like, yeah, I want overflow, but deep down they're afraid that if they have extra money, it's going to cost them their marriage, or freedom is the big one I hear a lot. Because people think to get to overflow, you work harder. Could it be further for the truth? Money has nothing to do with hard work. Nothing. Maybe that will be tomorrow's part of what I'll include in tomorrow's course, or module, because money and hard work, they are not correlated. They're not even in the same motherfucking room. Like, they are not a thing. But we've been taught, and it's been beat into us, that money comes from hard work. It doesn't. But maybe you believe that if you have a bunch of overflow, that just means you gave up all your freedom so that you could have that. Well, then let's hash that out, because let's choose a new belief that's going to serve you. Because as long as you keep thinking that's true, you're never going to get to a state of overflow, or you will, but you're going to sacrifice your freedom for it. And nobody wants to do that, right? Yes, I'm reading your comments. I feel like oh, yeah. I almost said, I feel like my problem is the opposite. I hoard it even if I have bills to pay. It's very counterintuitive. Makes total sense. It's kind of the same energy. It's like, it's always about fear. So I feel like most people are in that state where they're either like, I'm a hoarder, or they get rid of it. I actually used to be the hoarder energy. So I totally get it, because I was taught save for a rainy day, right? Save. So I would hoard. And I do agree, having money in savings, right? That is overflow. Having money in savings, having money in your extra accounts is amazing. But when you're getting into the energy of, I need to hoard this, why don't you feel safe? Like, true freedom with money is knowing that you're okay whether you're rich or you're broke. And I honestly think one of the greatest gifts I ever gave myself was when I started this business. I had to really get really brave around money, and knowing that my income may go down, and the way that I was bringing in money before may not be there. And when I felt free, even if I was broke, that is true freedom. Because I can feel free when I have all the money in the bank. Like, I felt safe, right? I felt safe when all the money is in the bank and I'm making a lot of money in my business and I have overflow. But if I can't also feel just as safe when I'm not having overflow, or I don't have an extra business bringing a ton of money in, then I'm not actually free. So when I started to really work on that relationship where I was like, I feel safe no matter what, because I'm a limitless being, because money just is, that was freedom. And I'm still, honestly, to be completely transparent, I'm still working on that energy within myself to where I feel free around money no matter where I'm at on the spectrum, no matter how much I'm bringing in or how little. Because that's freedom. I don't want money to own me for my life. It's not supposed to. That's not what we're here for. And having the energy around money of hoarding it, that's the same thing. I would look at the same thing. What am I getting from this? Why don't I feel safe? Or how can I now choose to feel safe around money so I'm not having to hoard it, or I'm not choosing to hoard it? Money is meant to flow. It's meant to circulate. When you cut off the flow of money going out, you also cut off the flow of money coming in, because it needs to flow, right? And again, don't shame yourself if you're hoarding. Like, it always goes back to that. We don't want to beat ourselves up about wherever we are at all. Oh, happy birthday. Yay. Okay, so Lindsay said, I have a lot of trouble with staying in the flow when the bills come and collections call. That's probably because you've trained your nervous system to respond a certain way to those events. So automatically, before they even happen, you will automatically go in that state. So if every time you look at the bills, you go into like this anxious, anxiety-filled space, then that is probably going to come up all the time because you've trained your body that this is the way we react when we get a bill. It's kind of like I used to date somebody who was like extremely verbally and emotionally abusive. And whenever I would hear the phone ring, I would get into this state of like total anxiety because my body was taught that when the phone rings and you answer, you're going to have somebody screaming at you, right? It's really unhealthy. And I noticed that about myself. So this is what I'm saying, Lindsay, about getting to the neutral energy around money. Practicing neutrality. One of the things I did around that, because I used to get really anxious when I would look at my bank account, ironically, no matter how much was in it. Like I could literally look at it and be like, oh my God, I have an extra, whatever. And I would still feel just as anxious as if I looked at it and it was like, $1,000. Like it didn't matter the number. I noticed that me looking at my money made me anxious. And this is still the case. So this is still an area where I'm practicing. Because even though I experience overflow, there's still areas where money causes me that feeling of anxiety. So what I do is I practice, and maybe this will help you, Lindsay, is I just practice number one, getting a neutral energy around it by doing it daily. Teaching my body how we're now going to feel when we look at this. And then when the feelings come up, I'm not going to bypass them and be like, you're not there, you're not there. I'm going to feel into them. I'm going to look at them. And for me personally, I do tapping. So when I open my bank account, I'm like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm feeling like an 8 on anxiety range here for literally no reason, but that's how I'm feeling because I've taught my body this is how we feel. So I do tapping. You can do whatever works, but it's teaching your body that it's okay to do this. It's okay. It's safe. I am safe, right? And so for me, I want to get to the place, and I am getting to the place where I look at my numbers every day because I want to practice neutral energy. They're just numbers. Like take the money out of it, take what we've been taught out of it. They're just numbers on a screen. That's the neutrality that I want to feel when I'm looking at my bank account. And then from that place of neutrality, then we can build up positive and exciting emotions. But right now, I just want to get to the point where it's like, I'm not stressed. And that might be where you are. Now, when I pay my bills, I actually love that feeling. I actually have taught myself like, this is so much fun because I love the feeling of, I just love it. I love paying my bills. And I know that sounds weird. I love the feeling of like, I did that. It's done. I checked off the box. I cleared the energy. Like I've made room for more to come in because I'm sending so much out. I really have gotten into that space. So you can practice this yourself, but it starts with that awareness around it and not running from the feeling, but being with it for a minute and then teaching your body how we're now going to feel. Does that make sense? Yes. Yeah. And there is so much around that. Like so many people, I don't have time to go into training on that today, but your body becomes addicted to the stress response. So a lot of the times when we're like, I don't want to feel anxious, I don't want to feel stressed, you can say that consciously, but your body's actually addicted to those chemicals. They're extremely addicting. Cortisol is extremely addicting. So stress, chronic stress around money, you may be very well addicted to it and getting something from it on not just a psychological level, but a physiological level, which I don't have time to go into right now, but yes. Awesome. All right, guys, I have to wrap this up because it's almost noon, but I want to share with you guys, doors are open officially today to Detach to Receive. So some of you guys are already in Detach to Receive, and if you're not, so I'll quickly explain what it is. Detach to Receive is an 8-week group program I created specifically to teach around exactly what I'm teaching here, but in all areas of our business. How do we detach from the outcomes? Because when we stop clinging to things, making them special, getting that desperate, needy energy, that's when we can allow them in. So Detach to Receive is about allowing money to flow, allowing overflow to become your state, but it's also like detaching, it's for entrepreneurs, obviously, detaching from the need for clients to come in so that you can allow clients to flow. Detaching from opinions so that you can allow your own self-love to be the thing that propels your business without needing constant external validation. So in Detach to Receive, it's 8 weeks with me. It's honestly like my favorite program I've ever built. And it's 8 weeks where you get access to my Detach to Receive program. It has 6 different modules, which is basically, this was a small glimpse into the kind of things that we do in Detach to Receive. It's teaching you how to work from the identity of the person who already has that level of receiving that you desire. So we're not working from point A to point B and Detach to Receive. we're being the person at point B. We're practicing being that person, and we're being in that community and in that container where we can really create that energetic anchor to that state. So it's 8 weeks inside Detach Receive, 6 modules. But then the other really cool thing about Detach Receive is you get coaching with me. We have 3 days a week of Voxer coaching that you get with me. And then you also get, we do bi-weekly hot seat coaching calls so that you can come on the call and also talk. So it's honestly the least expensive way to get private coaching with me by far. And it's also my favorite way because we're in there as a community, we're celebrating, which reminds me, I want to make a note that tomorrow I have something to share with you guys about. Hold on, guys. Let me make a note because if I don't write it down, I will forget. Okay. We're celebrating wins, and the other cool thing about Detach Receive is you get access to my client-only podcast. So if you liked this, basically what I do is I do quick 5 to 15 minutes tops episodes for my clients of quick alignment audios. So quick little podcast episodes about things that are going to help them in their business. Like just today, I recorded one about how to get in alignment with what you're selling this week. What kinds of things to journal on to help you get fully in alignment with what you're selling so you can sell this week, have fun doing it, make it easy, make it flow, things like that. So you'll get access to the quick alignment audios as well. And then also custom hypnosis and meditations. Like in Detach Receive, I have a hypnosis specifically for opening up to receiving. It's like my favorite one. I listen to it all the time. And then I also have one about dropping into flow daily, connecting with your higher self. Like there's tons of different ways because I believe in having different modalities. Some people are going to connect better with hypnosis. Some are going to do tapping. So I provide tapping sessions in there. Some people just need to talk it through and have a different perspective. So it is really a holistic view of business. So that is officially open today. I only open it for 1 week every month. So that's when open enrollment is. So it's going to be today. It's open until Friday. The investment to join is $1,200. You can do 2 payments of $600 or a full payment of $1,200. And I am keeping space open for 5 more women to join before Friday. After that, open enrollment closes. You can still join after Friday, but the price will go back up to $2,000. So, and no pressure, because I don't believe that I have to sit here and like convince you to join. I know that the right people are going to be interested and are going to be like, yes, I'm ready. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me. I'll pop the link for Detach Receive in the comments. Again, you can do pay in full, you can do a payment plan. I don't care. There's also a VIP option where you get extra coaching for me, and that's on the sales page as well if you want to check that out. But yeah, it's open for 5 ladies. I'm holding space for 5 ladies until Friday. And if you enjoyed this, it's just going to be basically an extension of this for 8 weeks together. And I'd love for you to join us. And then I'm going to hop. Oh, thank you, Callie. Yeah, Callie was in there. Yes. Maybe tomorrow I'll talk about control because control is a huge piece of it. Control is a huge piece. All right, guys, let me know in the comments if you have any remaining questions. This will be up until Friday. After that, it will be deleted from the Facebook group, but you're more than welcome. I'll make a link so you can buy lifetime access for $9.97. And then the link for Detached Receive will be in the comments. And I can't wait to welcome some of you amazing women in. And I hope you guys have an awesome Monday. Adios.